Alright, this is John Cole with OKRaw.com to have another exciting episode for you, coming at you from my beautiful backyard garden here, January 2021. Wow, 2021 is here already, and I want to wish you all you guys a happy new year, or I like to say, instead of a happy new year, a happy new day, because we should celebrate every day, and every day is a day that you guys can make resolutions and can change your life if you choose to do so. We don't have to wait for the new year to have a New Year's resolution. We should have a new day resolution, and you could make changes any day of the year that you actually like. In any case, in this episode, I'm going to share with you guys my 10 uncommon ways to improve your diet in 2021, or whenever you guys find this video to watch, right? And these are things that you probably never heard. Now, some of these things you might have heard kind of, but not the way that I'm going to say it, or with the parameters that I will be mentioning. You know, I will let you guys know that I got into a raw food diet in 1995 for my health. Almost lost my life when I was younger. I was able to regain my health, regain my life. So since 1995, I've been actually living this lifestyle, and actually more importantly, you know, looking into published studies, learning and reading and traveling, going to trade shows, going to farms, and learning all I can about growing the highest quality food and eating the best diet on the planet. And you know, most people would not disagree that the most important foods to eat are vegetables, including the U.S. government, amazingly enough. You know, on the My Plate, half your plate should be vegetables. I try to just even make more of my plate vegetables because they are the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, and that's something that you should definitely eat more of, but you've heard that one before. But I'm going to show you guys some uncommon ways to improve your diet, including eating more foods, processing them differently, as well as even maybe some supplements that I like to take. And some of the things are a little bit odd, but I want you guys to bear with me, and I'll have the most odd things at the end. So, you know, those of you guys that bail early won't hear some of the really good tidbits and nuggets that I have coming at you for the end of the video. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys actually how you can eat more plants and how to eat them more healthfully. This is really important to me because I've learned this, and I don't want to share my knowledge that I've learned with you guys at no cost. You know, I do this because this is part of my mission, part of my life's work, is to share what I've learned, because even if I had all the knowledge and didn't share it, what good is the knowledge if we don't share? We have to help our fellow man. You know, as much as I am here to share with you guys the information, right? That's my part, but your part is even more important than learning the information. It's acting upon the information. You know, the famous saying is, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I could share all the information with you guys, and if you don't take action on the information, it's done no good. So I would encourage you guys out there to take some action on this. Now, a lot of these things may be a little bit over-encompassing, and oh, that's too much work, John, I'm not going to do that. So then you should just not do anything and turn off the video now. No! Watch the video, and you know, maybe one of these items, maybe two, maybe three if you're lucky, will be like, wow, that actually sounds good to me, and I'm gonna make it happen in 2021 or whenever you happen to watch this. Maybe three things are too much to do. Maybe you'll just do one of the things. But you know, small and incremental changes are what really can make a big difference in the end game, in the long term, and that's what I really focus you guys on doing. You know, I didn't come up with all these things in the last year. You know, I've been doing all these things and been learning about them for the last 25 years, going to different trade shows, listening to lectures, going to different farms and visiting and traveling when I'm able to. Haven't been traveling lately, which has kind of been sucky, and also experimenting on myself to learn all these things that I now get to share with you guys. So with that, let's get into this video. So the first and common way to improve your diet is to grow your own nutrient-dense food. John and I heard about growing your own food. Everybody knows you got to grow your own food to have more nutritious food. That's totally true, but there's many ways to grow food. I visited Tino down in Texas, who basically just plants stuff in the ground and grows it without adding anything, and things grow, right? But here's the thing people don't understand is that, you know, a lettuce head is not a lettuce head. I mean, even though the lettuce head looks the same, one could have significantly more levels of different nutrients like platinum, for example, or selenium than another, right? And you can't tell by looking at it. You got to send it off to the lab for scientific research and studies, and they're going to do a mineral assay and all this kind of stuff, right? From my research, Most food that you're buying at the grocery store, even if it's organic, is demineralized and does not contain the level of minerals that the plant should have. And when the plant doesn't have the right minerals it should have, it doesn't make as many phytonutrients either, which is the next step in the chain. And that's why, I'm sitting in my garden. I have basically, this is all my broccoli. I have cauliflower right here. I have bok choy. You guys can't see. I got beets over here. I got different lettuces, and I got different kinds of mizuna and spinach and stuff back there. I really put my money where my mouth is to grow nutrient-dense foods. That's very important. Now, the other thing that you guys are going to get when you guys grow your own food is you're going to be able to fresh pick your greens and food. So I could literally come over here and pick a leaf off this plant and eat it, and it has not traveled on a refrigerated truck, has not been picked and shipped and stored in warehouses for like a week or two before you even get it, and the nutrition is declining all that time. Minerals aren't too affected, but some of the antioxidant vitamins and nutrients in the foods are. So that for that reason, that's another reason to grow your own food, so you could pick it and eat it right after you pick it, so that there's minimal nutrient loss. In addition, my food that I'm growing here is all alive. This is all living foods. I mean, it's still alive. It's growing, right? And when I pick it and eat it instantly, I feel that is still a living food, even though it's not actively living. I picked it and ate it. It's still living to me and has high vibration, high energy value, high biophotons, high prana, high chi, whatever you want to call it. It has the high energy that enlivens me with energy, right? And I know some of you guys don't have a backyard, don't have any space to grow food. I would encourage you guys to grow sprouts and microgreens indoors. Now, to grow the highest quality nutrient-dense food, it's very important to add a few things, and I'll mention those real quick. The trace minerals, and I add trace minerals in the form of rock dust, different kinds of rock dust. I've probably added almost nearly a dozen different kinds of rock dust throughout my garden in different places at different times. In addition, I also add ocean solids or ocean solution. In addition, I also add seaweeds in form of generally kelp or other kinds of seaweeds that have trace minerals as well. And then in addition, it's also very important to add the microbes, the bacteria, the fungi, even archaea, that'll add basically the enzymes and the powerhouses to break down those minerals to make them available for your plants. This is something even most farmers don't understand, because they just take the 10-10-10 conventional fertilizer, put on the plants, and those are water soluble, get absorbed in, and they don't produce the most nutritious food, in my personal opinion. We want to grow in accordance with nature, and that's simply how I do it, and I help it along to even grow better food than is found in the wild, because I could, control the better aspects and ensure there's more trace minerals in my soil and more microbial action than just would be in some random plot of land. Some of the ways I include the microbes into my garden include compost teas and other inoculants. If you guys are interested in learning how to grow your own nutrient-dense food, be sure to check out the YouTube channel. I have over 1,500 videos on that channel. Growing your greens. Second way to improve your diet is to eat the nutrients you're not already getting. What are those nutrients, John? Tell me the magic crystal ball answer. Well, I don't know what they are, but I'll tell you guys this, right? Say you eat only lettuce and carrots and some dates and apples, right? And that's all what you eat, because every day you eat those items day in, day out, different ratios. You're only ever going to get the nutrients in dates and, carrots and apples. And so depending on what you eat, depends on the nutrients that you guys are going to get. So the easiest way to get the nutrients you're not getting is to eat the foods that you don't eat. So say you don't eat dandelion greens because you hate the flavor, hate the taste. You never get the nutrients in dandelion greens. Go ahead and buy some dandelion greens and juice them, or figure out a way that you could include those and get those into you so that you're getting the nutrients you need. This is very critical. Every different plant food, and that's why I grow such a variety in my garden of different kinds of plants, and even different kinds and varieties of plants. So for example, this has sprouting purple broccoli, graffiti cauliflower. It also has an English violet broccoli as well as Romanesco. And even though those plants are all closely related, all in the brassica family, the purple broccolis have different levels of nutrients than the green broccolis would, for example. And actually, for extra credit, eat more purple foods. Purple foods are rich in anthocyanins or beta-cyanins. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I have beta-cyanin-rich berries that I actually got to process and juice today if I have time, so that I can get those nutrients into me. In addition, besides different vitamins, nutrients, and phytochemicals, and vitamins and minerals, which I think I already said, every different kind of plant has different kinds of fiber. So, I have aloe vera growing that has different polysaccharides, which are different than eating my cactus pads that I'm also growing. Those have like a more mucilaginous flavor, or the Malabar spinach that I grow in the summertime, right? Every different plant has different fibers, and some of the latest research out there shows that different fibers are important for different reasons in our body, and more importantly, feed different microbes. And certain microbes can be really happy with a certain fiber, and they won't really feed on another fiber. So the greater that diversity of the foods that you guys eat, the better. So eat more different kinds of plant foods. If you always get black beans, I don't know, get some navy beans once in a while, get some kidney beans. If you only eat lentils, find some other beans that you could eat in your desired preparation method and do that. I really want you guys to have a diversity of foods and expand the foods. If you go to the grocery store and you go to the produce section, you always buy the same 10 foods. Branch out, buy one extra different thing that you never bought before and try it. See if you like it. I love to go to different Asian stores, ethnic stores, Mexican stores in my area and find different foods that I've never eaten before. Actually, just this year, I tried chestnuts for the first time in like 20 years, and I'm like, wow, these things are quite delicious. Which is a different kind of fiber and actually lower fat than standard nuts. So I'm always striving to improve what I'm doing, and I would, welcome you to do that as well. My third uncommon tip is to source better quality food. Oh my God, like people think, oh John, I'm a raw vegan. I just go to the Whole Foods and buy my produce there all the time. I'm good, I get organic, it's the best. Dude, organic foods at Whole Foods is not the best. Basically, in my personal opinion, organic food from the industrial food supply, which I am a member of too at present time. My goal is to get out of the industrial food supply and grow all or most all my own food, and I grow a portion or percentage of my own food now that I'm able. But don't fool yourself. That food is not as nutritious as possible, and if you fail as a raw vegan, one of the reasons why may be because you eat industrial grown food that is deficient in especially the trace minerals, especially if you're not doing some of these other tips I'm going to share with you guys in a minute. So it's always like a hierarchy of good, better to best, right? So here's the thing, like, hey, conventional fruits and vegetables are still better than anything else at the grocery store, in my personal opinion. Maybe above conventional, fruits and vegetables, maybe organic fruits and vegetables. Yeah, one notch better than conventional, but we still got a couple notches up the chain to get even better than that. So then I would say even like local, non-sprayed, fresh picked produce is better than shipped in organic, produce from the industry, right? Then maybe up from that, I'd say maybe some kind of like wild foods that you go wild harvest in a forest or, some space near you where it's clean to do so. Those foods are way more nutritious than even a farm that's growing local food that's not spraying, right? Because those plants had to be strong to live out in the wild. Better than that would be to like have a garden like I do and enrich it with all the different nutrients the plants need to grow nutritiously, right? And I think, and then even above that, that's what I'm doing. And sometimes I even do this next pinnacle one. The next one is go out to the wild and harvest wild vegetable seeds and wild, plant seeds, and then bring those back to your garden and then grow them in your controlled soil where you have actually better soil than the wild. So now you're getting the wild genetics, and that's a whole thing that I'm not going to get into, but like more people need to eat more wild foods. We have all this food that it's basically all been hybridized. If it's at the grocery store, it's been selected and bred for certain traits. In many cases, it's been selected and bred for traits that benefit the farmer, not for you. The nutrients are being bred out, and it's being bred so that it could basically last longer in the cooler at Whole Foods before it goes bad, so that nobody loses their profit. Fourth uncommon way to improve your diet is to strive to minimally process your food only as much as possible so that you can get the nutrients out of it, right? Hey, in most cases, if a plant could be eaten raw, it's better to eat it raw than cooked, because when you cook it, that's more processing, and cooking can lower the nutrition, denature proteins, and cause a whole host of other issues, including creating cancer-causing carcinogens, right? Hey, slow juicing, or juice that runs at a slow speed that doesn't add all the extra air in it, is better than a juicer that runs at a high speed like a Breville juicer or a high-speed juicer. The slow juicers crush and grind up skins and seeds more and don't oxidize the juice as much, and it's shown in studies that the juice is more nutritious, right? Another thing you could do is actually use a vacuum blender instead of a standard traditional blender. I know a lot of you guys still own Vitamixes and aren't familiar with vacuum blending, but vacuum blending is here. It is here to stay. It's not very popular because unless you're a health nut like I am, you probably pretty much don't care. And if you just want to blend up some stuff, you probably don't care about vacuum blending. But if you want to increase your diet even just that much, just changing out your blender or changing out your juicer could do that for you. The final thing I will say on this topic is to, I've been using actually the Instapot. So I've been heating and heat processing food for my parents. And I made them 6 quarts of cooked food earlier this week. And the Instapot is amazing. That's the best way, in my opinion, aside from maybe slow cooking, which has its drawbacks, pros and cons, to cook foods, because it cooks it with water so that the temperature never gets too hot to create carcinogens or acrylamides or PAHs and all these different compounds, and doesn't cause Maillard reactions and all this stuff. Plus it's easy and convenient because I could put stuff in the Instapot, press go, and I could go garden for a little bit. I come back, take it apart, take it out, and then I put it in mason jars and I seal it, vacuum seal it, like I'll show you guys in a minute, to preserve the nutrients more effectively and so that it won't go bad, so that my parents can eat healthier because of it. So yeah, Instapot, if you do need to cook, is the way I would recommend to do so. Although I honestly will tell you guys that, I would rather eat my kale raw or eat my greens raw or juice them if they're more tough. But for my parents, they're not going to eat like raw kale and stuff. So actually I harvest my kale and cook it for them. And even though I'm cooking my kale for my parents, it's still way better than the stupid stuff they get at the Whole Foods deli. And I just give it to them for free, and they're saving money. And even at the Whole Foods deli, it's not organic. They're adding salt and oil in it. All my food that I make for them is plain. And actually, I'm kind of curious on how they eat that. I don't know if I'd eat cooked plain greens, mushrooms with onions and butternut squash. But to each their own. I'm glad they like to eat it plain, because that actually, honestly, is some of the healthiest, heat processed foods that I could make for them. My 5th uncommon tip is to eat more concentrated foods, right? That are minimally processed at the same time. So how can you do this? Well, all the greens in my garden and celery. I could juice a whole bunch of celery and greens and lettuce and cucumbers and make a green juice. So literally, about approximately 1 quart of green juice is approximately 4 pounds of fresh vegetables. And if a green juice will allow you to get more of these vegetables in you, especially the leafy green vegetables, I think that personally is a good thing, especially if this is going to replace something like bacon and eggs, or if you're just replacing celery juice alone with bacon and eggs, or toast and cereal and coffee. That's a good thing because you're getting more vegetables in you. This removes some of the fiber so that you can now get this a lot easier, and more importantly, assimilate it more easily, because it has removed the fiber and our bodies can more easily absorb the nutrients in a juice. Now, don't glug this juice down. Take your time when drinking it, right? So that's why I like juices. It allows you to concentrate the nutrients in foods, because the foods that you're buying at the grocery store don't have as many minerals in it as they used to have, and by concentrating them, you can even get to the same level that there were in the foods like just, 50 years ago now. Now, the other way you guys can concentrate foods is by taking powders, right? This is a naturally noble, and actually this is a superfood powder, and it's a double super powder, because this is actually grown with special mineralized soils so that it is high in more minerals than a normal food would. Like this is listed with selenium and molybdenum, and there's probably some other minerals in here as well. But basically, powders, these are basically dried vegetables that have been powdered up. So these are concentrating everything, including the fiber, but not the water in the powder. So the best of both worlds, if you combine the powders, which have the water removed, and then add in the juice, which has some of the fiber removed, add them together, and boom, man, this is more nutritious than eating fresh stuff. In addition, drinking juices will allow you to maybe get some produce in you that you wouldn't normally have. I have a root juice that I juice in there, like burdock root and horseradish root, which I wouldn't just sit there and chop up horseradish and eat it. That stuff's hardcore. Even in the juice, it's pretty hardcore. I juice ginseng, I juice ginger and turmeric, and I would not drink that or eat that volume of turmeric and or ginger if it wasn't for the juice. In addition, You could buy very unique green powders, even if you need to, fruit powders to get more calories and phytonutrients. I like berry powders myself. And this is actually convolutus powder, or also known as bindweed. This is a wild food, very nutritious, and more people should eat it. So for that reason, I like juices and the powders to maximize the different kinds of nutrients you can get into you. According to a lot of the studies that I see out there, it is these very phytonutrients and minerals that play a big role in our health, and most people are simply not getting enough variety or eating enough of them. The sixth way is to ensure trace mineral adequacy. That's very important. Not too much and not too little of the trace minerals. Some minerals you guys may be sufficient on. I know some ladies might have problems with iron, but many people, in my opinion, are deficient in things like selenium and even zinc. That can be problematic, especially depending on the diet and the variety of foods. Every different food will absorb different levels of minerals and whatnot, and some of the seeds, like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, I eat watermelon seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds. They are pretty much powerhouses of minerals for many people. That being said, we could have too much of a mineral or too little, and I believe in nature's levels, as long as you rotate a diet and don't overeat. Only ever almonds, because almonds are your favorite nut and you don't eat other nuts, right? I eat a variety of nuts. I just got some hazelnuts, some pecans, some walnuts in the shell, which I'll have a different episode on lately. And I like to eat many different kinds of nuts because each kind of nut has, Brazil nuts for the selenium have different kinds of and levels of trace minerals, fiber, and also vitamins in there. But trace minerals are key for our success. Trace minerals are basically kind of like, little workers in a factory. And if one worker, if there's a production line of cars, and the guy that puts on the door handles doesn't show up to work that day, and all the cars can't come out without door handles because the car's not you can't even get into the car, right? And there are, minerals in our bodies are like that. If they're like one component's missing, then a whole chain of other reactions cannot occur in the body. From what I've learned. So it's very important to get some of these trace minerals, and the challenge arises that as I mentioned earlier, the top soils are devoid of the trace minerals, and standard agriculture is not adding these back in. Yes, even organic agriculture is not adding some of these more important minerals into the food or into the soil, as I'll be having an episode on iodine upcoming on my Growing Your Greens channel, and how I introduce iodine into my plants so that I could get higher levels of iodine in the food that I grow instead of the food at the grocery store, which has very minimal. That being said, if you're not growing your own garden and adding the nutrients to your garden to get the iodine in your plant foods, I also would encourage you guys to eat seaweeds, right? Seaweeds are from the ocean, and all the topsoil is degraded and washed down in the ocean so that they have the minerals. Here's some nori. These are nori sheets by globalmaxlink.com. And this is the same nori, but it's basically just a little powder. I add this into different kinds of meals and foods. And the cool thing about this nori, unlike a lot of seaweeds that have a Prop 65 warning on them, this has no Prop 65 warning because they have low levels of the heavy metals. I know a lot of people think all the oceans are contaminated. Well, it depends where in the ocean and how you're controlling it. So these have no Prop 65, heavy metal warning on them. So that's impressive to me, and that must mean something. So, but not only do I eat nori, because hey, if you eat nori every single day, that's probably not a good thing, because every different seaweed has different levels of minerals, and you could get all the minerals in nori, and you could get an overabundance of some of those, which would not be a good thing. But you wouldn't get the minerals in kelp or nori or hijiki or the different kinds of seaweeds. So or the kombu. So I get seaweeds from all over the world. Literally, I get seaweeds from Europe and Canada and the U.S. And here's one from Korea. I get seaweeds from Japan. I'm not a big fan of getting seaweeds from China. It's my goal to avoid China. But yeah, I get all different kinds. This is Choso First Miyuk seaweed or something. I don't know. I can't even read the name, but every seaweed is a bit different. I like the red seaweeds, the dulse, and I eat a little bit of seaweed, throughout the week. My whole diet is based around fruits and vegetables, and I'd recommend maybe eating seaweed several times a week to ensure that you're going to be trace mineral sufficient. Seventh uncommon way to improve your diet in 2021 is when you do make things in bulk or have too much, which I often do on purpose because I do food prep, and I'll make juices for the next 5 days or whatever. I'll make, a soup or salad meal for the next couple days, is to store them properly. This is super important. Don't just put them in a bowl with some saran wrap or like a beeswax wrap on it or foil over it or just a lid on it, right? The food is being absorbed to air, and once you start chopping and cutting open food, or especially juicing it, right, the nutrients can oxidize because you're creating more surface area. So it's very important to vacuum seal it. You can see I have a vacuum seal lid. These are no longer available, but there's no lid ring on here, but this is sucked in because I pulled out all the extra air out of this. This is critical. I find that if I vacuum seal certain juices, such as sugarcane juice with lemon, I can store the juice easily 3 weeks, which I don't necessarily recommend. And without the vacuuming and without the lemon, it might only store 2 or 3 days, right, before it goes bad and oxidizes and ferments, right? So this is imperative if you want to, maximize your nutrition. I have a video, I'll post a couple links down below if I remember, to videos on how to vacuum store some of your food in mason jars, and that's how I make the food for my parents. I basically make 6 jars and I vacuum store them all, and then I basically give it to them and they open them up one at a time easily. That way their food lasts them a week, and this allows them to eat basically my homegrown and homemade food, instead of buying things in plastic at Whole Foods. Now, some tips on vacuum storing that I've never given before, right, is you want to pull a stronger vacuum. A stronger vacuum is better than a weaker vacuum. So I have different kinds of lids that I do this, and I've tested certain lids don't pull as much vacuum as other lids. These lids that are no longer available pull the most vacuum that I've seen. And for extra credit, this is crazy, you want to de-aerate your juices and smoothies after you make them. So especially if you're doing it in a Vitamix, you'll have a highly aerated smoothie. In a vacuum blender, not so much. But even in a juice, in a slow juicer, right? The exception is a cold press. If I'm hydraulic pressing the juice, you pretty much can't de-aerate it anymore because there's no air in there, which is kind of impressive to me. But I don't like, hydraulic press juice for other reasons. But anyways, with a strong enough vacuum, right? So I'm using the Blendtec vacuum pump right now to do this. Basically, you put the vacuum on here, it sucks the air out of this, but once it sucks that out and the vacuum pressure gets high enough, you'll see bubbles from here going up and gassing out. You'll be de-aerating the micro, basically oxygen dissolved inside the juice. And that's totally next level stuff. I'm gonna have a video on this specifically one of these days. There's actually research science on this about de-aerating things to, increase the phytonutrient level. And this is like the crazy stuff you're gonna hear on this channel and probably nowhere else because I'm the only crazy ass dude doing this. 8th uncommon way to improve your diet is I want you guys to hydrate with fruits and vegetables, right? Or more importantly, I want you guys to drink low surface tension water that contains easily absorbable minerals. So how do you do that, right? Well, you do that by drinking juices. Juices are low surface tension water because the plants absorb the water from the groundwater, from the rain, and they make the water low surface tension. In addition, the plants also absorb minerals as the plant is growing and puts it in a way that our bodies could more easily access it. If you just drink water out of the tap with hard minerals in there, you're not going to absorb as many of the minerals because the charge is incorrect in there. So that's why drinking living juices and other drinking plants or drinking your water like coconut water instead of regular water is always better in my personal opinion, because the water is actually more structured, if you want to call it that, or has a lower surface tension. And more importantly, when it comes from a plant, it's been filtered by the plant and also contains the minerals that is more easily used for our bodies. So it's like a double whammy. So instead of drinking water, I'd rather drink some leafy green juice. In addition, certain leafy green juices can also be low deuterium, which is a whole different topic that I'm not going to discuss today. 9th uncommon tip I want to share with you guys to improve your diet and increase your healing time is to eat high nitrate foods, right? And this is very important. Several vegan doctors even say eat copious amounts of leafy greens, a handful 6 times a day and all this stuff because they're high nitrate. So what he doesn't know is that not all greens or plants or foods, while some of them can be more probable to contain high nitrate because some are more nitrate accumulators than others, he fails to realize that just because it's arugula doesn't mean it's always going to be a high nitrate arugula. It depends on how the arugula was grown specifically. And actually, that's where conventional farming can beat out organic farming, because conventional farming uses actually nitrate fertilizer, which will increase artificially, unnaturally in my personal opinion, the nitrate content of the vegetables you're eating. And just because it's conventional doesn't mean it's going to have high nitrate either. It depends on how the farmer is growing it and what is in the soil and a whole bunch of other factors. So that's actually quite, interesting. So I have a recent episode, post a link down below if I remember, where I interviewed a doctor who's been studying nitrate and nitric oxide levels, and that's the reason to eat nitrate-rich foods, is to increase your nitric oxide levels, which is basically going to allow you to heal faster, and recover quicker. Also, things like lower your blood pressure and even improve athletic performance. He's researched this, so actually one of his products that he's come out with is this stuff right here. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, if it's too beaming, but it's basically it's HUMANN super beets. So this is actually special beet powder, because once again, not all beet powders will have high nitrate and give you the beneficial effects of the higher, nitric oxide. But this is the product that he's tested that will do that. So I take this irregularly. In addition, I already eat copious amounts of greens as well, but I believe this is actually imperative for healing and long-term health. So common vegetables that are said to have high nitrate are beets, like I have growing right here that you guys can't see. Some of them arugula back there, right below in this bed that you guys can't see. I have bok choy growing. The cruciferous vegetables, I'm sure, like the kale and collard greens and broccoli, also generally high nitrate accumulators if it is in the soil. My goal is to have high trace minerals, not necessarily high nitrate, but I'm sure I'm getting some levels of nitrate in this, and by increasing the quantity of my greens I'm eating, I will automatically get some of the higher levels of nitrate, which then I will supplement with the super beets as well. 10th and final uncommon way to improve your diet is to take uncommon supplements. I'm not going to talk about the common supplements that if you're on a plant-based diet you should be taking, such as B12, likely vitamin D, likely vitamin K2 potentially, and other ones. I'm going to talk about some of the more rare ones that are kind of like designer supplements that most people may not take. I take a handful of supplements. My goal is to not live on supplements, because a supplement should supplement your diet. My goal is to eat fruits and vegetables and fill in with a few select supplements that I feel will be, essential for my health and beneficial for my health, right? And so those are, one of them is actually, this is stuff called the astaxanthin. This is actually called the joint astin, and this is Hawaiian astaxanthin. I take their different formulations, I rotate through them, and astaxanthin is probably one of the most powerful antioxidants on the planet. I think they did a study where they're basically feeding this to laboratory animals, which I'm not a fan of, and then they induced like a stroke, and the animals that had high levels of astaxanthin in their blood after recovering them from the stroke didn't have the brain damage or as much brain damage as the animals that didn't have this, because this is neuroprotective and protective for us on our inside. So this can also, reduce inflammation and do all these other things. But basically the astaxanthin is basically extracted from microalgae. So I think it's like Helveticus plurivis or something. It's basically an algae that when it gets upset or pissed off, it turns red, and then they basically extract that nutrient and put it in the capsules for you guys to take. My goal is to have the algae, and at one point I bought the algae, but the problem is that algae oxidizes super quickly and will go bad, so they have to extract it and put it in a little capsule with oil so that it doesn't basically go bad and the effects are not nullified, right? Another supplement, which is one broad class that I take, is this stuff right here, and this is actually phytoplankton supplement, basically. This is the HoloFit Terrasod. Actually, this stuff is not available in any wide way in the US, so I actually have to order this stuff from Spain. And this is a very powerful superoxide dismutase. Once again, another high power antioxidant, right? And but this is basically straight from phytoplankton, which is basically is what the whales eat, right? So this is one type of species that is grown in bioreactors, in Spain. Another kind that I got, also I think from the same source, is actually this Karen phytoplankton, and this actually has some other things in there But this one has a different maybe species of phytoplankton that's not the super high, SOD version. And then another variety that I also have started to take is actually probably my favorite because it's actually made in Canada. And unlike these guys that are like single species phytoplankton, this has like 80 different species of phytoplankton in there. So you're going to get a more broad spectrum because every different phytoplankton absorbs different nutrients, has different phytochemicals and trace minerals and antioxidants as well. And so I like this guy. This almost tastes like you're eating the ocean when you're taking this. This stuff is quite spendy, quite expensive. So and that's what I'm going to say is like these are supplements, right? These may not be necessary. I feel these will make a difference in my health. And hey, what's money for? It's for spending anyways. You can't take it with you. So I want to improve my health. I believe I am improving my health by taking the phytoplankton, internally. But I also, all these beds have been treated with the phytoplankton, not this stuff. They have a fertilizer phytoplankton. Put a link down below to that video if you're interested. And for all the Marfil phytoplankton, I have a negotiated discount for you guys of 15%. You can use the coupon code GROWING15 on their website or on Amazon to order their products. Links down below, if I remember, to their products, that I would recommend for you guys. So those are the 10 ways to improve your diet in 2021. I hope you found those useful. Now I want to give you guys a bonus tip or a bonus way, not having to do directly with what you're eating or your diet, but actually how your diet is coming out of you and where it goes. More importantly, I've saved this to the end. So the last thing I want to mention is that I want you guys, when you're pooping out your poop, right? So your diet is actually going out the other end. I want you guys to squat. Very important to squat on the toilet, whether you want to get one of those, stools that raise up your feet or put your feet on phone books so you're kind of more at a squatting position. All the dogs and animals squat. It's not natural for our bodies to be basically kinked when we're sitting on a toilet, right? You're going to be more constipated. Things are not going to flow out as easily. I mean, just with that one simple change of squatting on the toilet or, raising the level of your feet up on a squatty potty or however you guys want to do it. Now, I'll put a link down below I made years ago that my mom really didn't approve of me squatting on a toilet and showing you guys how I do it. That can change your life. I want to thank Jasmine Clower, who taught me about squatting and the importance of that, all right? And the final tip, oh my God, this is the most important one I learned from a guy in Florida, that our urine, our pee, is probably the most nutritious fertilizer on the planet. And the amount of pee we produce in a year, guess what, is enough fertilizer to grow enough food for us to eat. But meanwhile, all our pee is being flushed down the toilet and not being used to grow food, right? As much as I'm able, when I gotta pee, I don't go to the bathroom. I come outside of my garden and I find a nice tree to pee on, or a nice some other plants to grow that are growing, to pee next to. I don't like to pee on my leaves, but I feed the soil my nutritious pee because I'm eating all these trace minerals in, and the stuff that I don't absorb into me comes out my pee, and then it gets back recycled into my garden. This is super critical to grow higher quality food, and that is extra credit. I would do all the other things I talk about first, but I'm not going to waste my pee if I don't have to. And I don't want you guys to waste your pee. Of course, your poop is another story. Although I have videos on composting poop, I have raw food friends that do that. Link down below. I'm not quite there yet, and maybe one of these days, it's my goal to get a composting toilet in my backyard, garden, which would kind of be a fun project one of these days, but I'm not quite there yet. In any case, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm glad you guys stayed to the end. You were literally the 3% that stayed to the end to get all this information. If you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, I want you guys to make a comment down below. Which one of these uncommon ways are you going to implement in 2021? If you put it in writing, you'll be more likely to stick to it. And I want to know what you're going to do. I want to see if there's a consensus of which one of these tips you guys like the most. Also, be sure to like this video if you liked it, so I could do more, and it'll encourage me to do more videos like this, more uncommon and off-the-wall videos that, you're pretty much not going to hear anywhere else. Also, be sure to share this video with somebody else you might think it could help. Share it in raw food forums, vegan forums, or other, even biohacking forums, because a lot of these things that I'm showing you guys, like most people have no clue about, and I'm just here to help my fellow man. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure you click the notification bell to get notified as my new videos come out. Finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to teach you guys all about eating the highest vibrational fruits and vegetables and plant foods on the entire planet so that you guys could be healthier. And also be sure to check some of the links down below for videos that are referenced in this episode. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables and a wide diversity and homegrown as much as you can. They're always the best.